If it weren't for the Rosetta Stone, we could not read the ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. It so happened that a relatively late period of Egyptian history, when the Greeks were running Egypt, the Ptolemaic dynasty, that they wrote down a stela in 3 languages, in ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, in the more recent form of ancient Egyptian called hieratic, and in Greek. And that gave them the key. From that, our whole knowledge of ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs has arisen.
Isn't it amazing? One stone.
One stone gave us access to that wisdom and that ancient world. Maybe not complete access. I think there's a lot that's not understood in the ancient Egyptian texts, particularly their exploration of death and what happens after death. They put their best minds to work for thousands of years on that problem, and they came up with all kinds of interesting ideas. But at least thanks to the Rosetta Stone, we can read their texts. We can read the ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead. We can read the book of what is in the Duat. We can read the pyramid texts.
And it's absolutely insane that if it wasn't for the discovery of the Rosetta Stone, how much would still be confusing?
Egypt would be dark to us.
The discovery of one stone changed everything.
Exactly.
Who knows how many stones out there are not discovered? It's
and
also like the deeper you dig, there's different forms of structures, like they have different construction styles.
Yeah.
That seem to indicate like an older civilization.
They kept on building and rebuilding on older sites.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Edfu building texts. That's a temple from the Ptolemaic period. It contains basically the story of Atlantis, which Egyptologists say had no Egyptian origin, but it contains that story. They call Atlantis the homeland of the primeval ones. That temple was built on the foundations of an earlier temple, which had fallen to pieces. It preserved the archives from that earlier temple. Turns out that earlier temple was itself built on an even earlier temple, going back to pre-dynastic times. So there's a lineage, there's a heritage of stuff being passed down.
And there's a history of that in Europe as well.